like to give the updates from the sector. So we'll have Community Housing Industry Association, DV New South Wales, End Street Sleeping Collaboration, ourselves and Y Foundations. So Homelessness New South Wales, we exist to build the capability of people and the capacity of systems to end homelessness. And when we talk about ending homelessness, we're talking about making sure that it's rare, brief, and non-recurring. Or as Peter says, one time. I love that. Our vision. So we have a vision for a future where everyone has a safe and secure home and connection to their community, because we know without that connection, that home is not often sustained well. Who do we represent? So we've got over 180 members, many in the room today. That's diverse agencies, made up of specialist services, allies, change makers, people with lived experience, all working together to end homelessness. So I want to talk to you through this short update in 3 parts. I want to give a little bit of a summary of the context. And look, I don't have to spend much time on this. Every one of you are living and working in this every day. But what I wanted to do was lift it up to the state level and share some of the insights across the state. I'm then going to give you a bit of an update on, the advocacy work that we've been doing and some of the work that we're doing through our sector support and how we want to work with you over the next 12 months. So what we all know is there's a growing number of people in need. The recent disasters have left thousands of people at risk of or experiencing homelessness. In 2021, over 70,000 people were supported. That's actually 30% more than services are funded to support. And yet still 48% of people who sought support could not get their needs met. We know that housing supply is not delivering for those in need. There are over 50,000 people currently on the New South Wales housing waiting list, and they face approximately up to 10 years wait, and 2 years for those on priority sometimes. But what we actually know about that is it will take 70 years to house everybody on that list with the current investment of social housing in New South Wales. So let me give you an example. So every year in New South Wales, there's about 70,000 residential dwellings are approved to be built. For whatever reason, 35,000 approximately get built, okay? And of that 35,000, about 2% are social housing, or about 700 properties every year. At the current ratio of social housing to residential dwellings, it's about 4.7%. To give a comparison, the OECD average is about 7%, but the research is telling us we need 10%. We actually need 10% of all residential dwellings to be social housing to meet the current and future demands. We know that our renters are in stress. And our recent report that we did with NCOS and CHIA, the Aftershock series looking at housing and homelessness, showed us that 54,000 more renters across the state need support. And at a time when more people need support and we have an atrophying and shrinking stock of social housing, it's never been harder to find a rental. There's less than 1% affordable rentals across the state, and if you've got a physical disability, you can take that number down to 0.01%, depending on your needs. So our challenge is great. We also have finite resources. This is a challenge we all face. Our partners in government, not-for-profit sector, we have finite resources. The New South Wales government currently spends $1.2 billion on total in housing and homelessness, and that's a welcome investment. And of this spend, approximately 258 million. So I know the Minister talked about 350. The actual spend to SHS services is about 258 million on average, and that comes from the Productivity Commission report. And that goes directly to specialist homelessness services. Now that equates to about $36 per day per client. So we're working with finite resources to support those clients. That's actually the lowest in the country too, in terms of per capita for people supported. Those same people are costing us as a society, and they're costing government an additional $31,000 per day, additional to the money invested to support them. And that's from the Taylor-Fry report. And those peripheral services, as you all know, housing, health, justice, police, that's 4 times higher than the population of New South Wales. So the money that we're investing is a lot less than the money that we're spending to support people. And while our challenge is great, more people need our help. We don't have the exits to put them in, and we don't necessarily have the resources to meet the need. We definitely don't. I'm still optimistic, okay? Because we have a resilient sector and we know the solutions. The drivers of homelessness are very complex. I don't intend to simplify that or overly cut that down too simply, but the solutions are the same. Provide support to people, provide housing and connection to the community, better coordination, access to housing and support on the ground when it's needed. And that's why we want to work with you, our partners in the SHS sector, our allied services, private industry, government, because we want to work smarter together for greater impact, because we know no one organisation can solve this in isolation, but we must take action together. It's a great quote and I use it whenever I can. The secret here will be to gang up on the problem and not each other. And so that's why we launched our Ending Homelessness Together campaign, and thanks so much for those that helped us put this together. This is a shared roadmap. This is how we can achieve this, and it's predominantly the role the government can play to help us, but we're all part of this picture. So this is about investing in increased and sustained supply of social housing. It's about funding support services to meet current and future demand, and we cut those numbers at about $152 million, which is needed now to help services to meet that demand, not see more people meet the current demand they're seeing. And we need to coordinate across government better, and we're going to hear some fabulous examples of that today, particularly the mental health housing agreement and the protocol for people in public places, but we can do even better, right? We can get even broader systems change. And we've got the idea to appoint a homelessness commissioner, a person who can keep our issue on the agenda, set KPIs across government and help us all work together. Our campaign so far has been successful. We've had 215 mentions across online, radio, TV, newspapers, breakfast and evening TV, and we've cumulatively reached over 2 million people. But we need to keep the momentum up. And it's not enough to just have the word out there, we must take action and work together to achieve this. And that's why we want to work with you to co-create a vision for change. I talked to my team and others about the stars are aligning. In our sector, I've worked in Sydney in homelessness for over almost 10 years now, and this is the first time it's felt like this could be our chance to make really long-lasting systems change. We've got a New South Wales state election, which is bringing renewed and enhanced commitments from both sides of politics on the issue. We have the federal government commitment to housing and homelessness national plan, so we can have that much-needed national framework. We have the review of the state government's future directions and homelessness strategies, so an opportunity to influence from a sector what we want to see change in those strategies. And also we've got the recommissioning in 2024. So we have an opportunity to drive the change that we want to see that will work for how we want to lead our sector. And that's why we've engaged the Australian Centre for Social Innovation to work with us, to work with you, to develop a 10-year vision from the sector. How does the sector want to work? What are the principles that we want to work by? What are the things that are important to us? And recognising that we all work in a slice of this. Youth, generalist, DV, very specific support services, all very important and relevant, but what can we do together? How can we lift it up, and what are the consensus things that we can work on together locally and across the state to drive systems change for a joined up mission for change? And we'll be talking to all of you about this over the coming months, because we would like to launch this in August. We're starting on the ground with people with lived experience and frontline workers. We'll be talking to change makers, innovators, academics, people outside of our non-traditional players working in this space. And we'll also be working with our partners in government and the private industry to ensure that the story that we're telling together, the work that we commit to, the principles and the way we want to do that reaches consensus. And that can inform the national plan, it can inform the state government plans, it can help us formulate, work together and build our capacity ahead of the recommissioning in 2024. So what support are we providing to the sector? Some of the highlights from July so far this year, we've provided over $221,806 in grants through our ACES program and our core and cluster support. Our core and cluster team have been working very closely with the CHIA and DV New South Wales, and they've delivered 19 capacity building events with over 270 attendees and 22 one-to-one sessions with different SHS services. We've also delivered over 100 courses and engaged over 1,000 learners in accredited and non-accredited learning through our learning and development team. And we've supported 50 people, 50 SHS workers, to do their diploma in leadership and management so that they can see their career progression and continue to build their capability to lead on systems change. And we are currently undertaking a collaborative and co-design programme with 10 Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander specialists and services to support the development of the ACES Cultural Safety Framework. And I'm delighted to announce that we've appointed Dr. Auntie Sonia Pearce as our Auntie in Residence at Homelessness New South Wales, who will help guide and facilitate this important cultural work. So how can we work together? Days like today, coming together, coming to our events and our workshops, making sure that you can work with us regionally. We'll be heading out to the regions. We're off to host a Western Sydney event in December. We'll be heading out to Dubbo. We're heading up to Lismore. I've been down to the South Coast. We'll be going back. We want you to share your case studies so we can amplify the voices of people with lived experience. You can join our board and our Policy Advisory Council, and I'd like to give a call out to our board members here today. Thanks very much for attending. Please reach out to them and say hi. And please give us your feedback in any way, text, phone, email, join our surveys, because we want to have a foot on the ground so that we can have a hand in the strategy, and we can't do that without you.